Hello guys and welcome back to the ProDota Cup series by Smashcast TV. We are here watching the match between the Prime NND and Happy Feet, and it is a good one, my friends. It is a best of 3 that is already on its second match, and though the Happy Feet guys have shown to be better than the Prime NND in the whole tournament, especially in the group stages, right now they're actually having a bit of trouble. Last game, maintaining a really high net worth advantage, but not being able to take down the Prime NND is a bad sign for Happy Feet. Maybe they might lose this game number 2. We'll see what happens. The whole hopes for the Prime NND is to really take this game number 2 and then bring it to game number 3 where they might have a chance of some sort of pocket strategy so they don't go down to the lower brackets. However, it might be easier for them in the lower brackets because Happy Feet is a pretty strong team and so are the other teams in the winners bracket, so it might be a strategy, puppy strategy, to go down bottom. That said, guys, we are here in the ProDota Cup series by Smashcast TV, casting out the last series of the game. The last series of the day. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me? The last series of the day. Hopefully it is a good one. Let's see what happens today. My name is DSwordfish. I'll be your caster for today. Let's get right into the teams and to the draft. Prime NND bans out of the Magnus, Nature's Prophet, Ursa, Invoker, picking up a Trim Protector, Bristleback, Shadow Shaman. Interesting. Happy Feet picking up a Crystal Main, Night Stalker, Timbersaw, banning out a Nyx Assassin, Ricky, Warlock, and Darkseer. So, the Prime NND on one hand have a good amount of lane a lot of lane domination. With the recent buff for the Shadow Shaman's damage, it's actually plus 6 damage to him. So he's going to be able to do, what, 74 damage base, I believe, which is ridiculous for a support. It's ridiculous. He's like a Trim Protector but with range, even though the range is not too much. In addition to that, the change in aggro, for the creep aggro, how they changed it so that it's actually now the aggro lasts less time and the cooldown is longer, so it's harder to aggro creeps. Makes it it's a great change for Shadow Shaman. It helps him spam Ether Shock if needed in the lane, but more importantly, use your auto attacks a bit more efficiently. Not the best hero against a Timbersaw, mind you, but hey, in most situations, Shadow Shaman has been getting a pretty heavy buff. Bristleback, similarly by the Heaven's Halberd, this might be just back in the meta because that buff to the Heaven's Halberd was great. For those people asking what the song is, I'm not entirely certain. I actually just pick it randomly, so I can't really tell you, but the Prime NND will be bringing out the Bristleback to combine with Trim Protector and Shadow Shaman's high physical damage. You combine that with the Minus Armor of the Viscous Nasal Goo, and even though the Roshan is not as powerful anymore, it now gives cheese at second Roshan attempt, and Bristleback is a great Roshan taker, so it combines really well with these kind of heroes, in addition to being able to dominate the lanes, similar to how Trim Protector and Shadow Shaman are trying to do it. So, the Prime NND are not trying to go for kills early on, they're trying to go for an easy strategy where they win the lane purely and get more lasses than the enemy team, and then start attacking them with possibly a Sanjin Yasha bar, Heaven's Halberd bar, you know, I don't even know, Assault Cuirass, Octarine Core on this Bristleback. Now, Happy Feet, on the other hand, very different strategy that they're running. Crystal Main, Night Stalker, Timbersaw, and Shadow Fiend. What does this mean? So Shadow Fiend needs space early on for a bit of farming. Timbersaw does not. In fact, Timbersaw creates space, if anything. He might take a lot of resources in the map, but with a new camp stacking, this actually benefits both Timbersaw and Shadow Fiend greatly because you can do more stacks again. The Temple Assassin will be the Shadow Fiend in mid. That's out of the question, at least in the beginning. Later on, the Shadow Fiend can recover in levels and even beat the Temple Assassin just with boots because your raises still harass her considerably, and the Refraction does not take out too much of, or the Refraction has a limited amount of charges, and Shadow Fiend's an agility hero with a good agility gain, so his attack speed usually is enough to take off those charges. That said, what Happy Feet are trying to do is get a lot of potential in the early game with this new buffed Night Stalker. Very strong, by the way. This motherfucker can dive anything. Combine Night Stalker with a really buffy off lane in this situation, or carry, in this situation being the Timbersaw, and the Crystal Maiden to offer some, you know, background supporting. The Arcane Aura helps Timbersaw and Night Stalker be super aggressive in the early game. In fact, their natural tankiness and the fact that Night Stalker has that fly now, I don't even know what to call it, the Hunter and the Night active, which allows him to just, you know, fly literally over buildings, it's wonderful, making it so that Happy Feet actually have an insanely good ganking strategy that's only countered really by the Living Armor and Trim Protector and the natural tank of a Bristleback. So, what the Prime NND need last, if you need an offlaner, in this situation an Axe, for example, would be quite good. A Beastmaster, if you do want to go for the classics, because he doesn't get ganked easily, he doesn't rely too much on the jungle, and he doesn't have to, and he can go easily against the Shadow Fiend and Timbersaw with just the Primal Roar. So the Beastmaster would be a nice big Axe, though. Seems the first thing to come to mind. Leech Commander, or Leech Commander is the other thing, but instead they go for the Sanking. Got minor buffs to the Sandstorm this patch, or a little bit of changes to the Sandstorm, no big deal though, so Sanking same as always, offering the Epicenter. The extra talent he gets for the minus 50 seconds, or minus 50 attack speed for the Epicenter is pretty good. It's pretty good, because it actually really slows down heroes like Shadow Fiend, for example. Now, that said, Happy Feet really don't need to go, really don't need to go for the Timbersaw carry. Timbersaw is much more effective. You want an aggressive tri-lane with someone that can run solo. And in this situation, the Ember Spirit is picked as that someone that can run solo. Ember Spirit versus TA in the middle lane, you're fucked. You really don't do well against her because her high damage and your low armor really screw you over. In fact, TA usually wins the lane if she plays well. However, later on in the game, with Ember Spirit has a lot of mobility, that damage over time really screws over the TA. He can evade Sanking's Burrow Strike, and the only thing that Ember Spirit is really scared about is Shadow Shaman, and his range is deplorable, so you don't really care too much about Shadow Shaman's attack onto you, because both the Hex and the Shackles will never impact you if you're playing Ember Spirit properly past minute 8 or so. Right, if you're playing Ember Spirit properly and you're getting away from the trees and from those blind spots, Shadow Shaman will just never get to you because his range is just too bad. Unless he gets a Blink Dagger, in which case you're screwed and you can't do much. You have to resign. That said, the Prime NND have a nice lineup, centering a lot around team fighting and, again, early game domination. But their lineup really closes in the mid-game, and if the mid-game doesn't go too well for them because of bad team fights, and they're up against a Timbersaw, so that's not unlikely, the Prime NND are screwed. Are absolutely screwed. Because they actually can't do much. Thank you, Kuroshu. I'm DSwordfish, that's my name. Thanks for calling me smart guy. Because the Prime NND can't do much against Happy Feet if this does go to the late game. Shadow Fiend offers much more damage, the Ember Spirit as well, than the Bristleback TA does. And the TA nerf to her agility gain, the 0.3 agility points per level, that actually hurts her even further, because that makes it so that her late game is worse and worse as time goes on, because, well, you honestly get, in total the late game is 0.3 times 25, so what is that? 7. Actually, you don't lose that much. You lose like 7 points in agility, which is one whole armor if you consider it. Yeah. Regardless, Happy Feet, I do like their lineup quite a lot. I do like I do like this kind of Night Stalker lineup. I see where they're going. It's actually very easy to tell where they're going with this lineup. The Prime NND seems more of a mix of weird synergies, but it depends too much in that mid game. Depending too much in the mid game against the Timbersaw is really dangerous because he's not going to be able to be killed. That said, guys, my name is DSwordfish. I will be your caster for today. Cheers for anyone commenting in the chat and whatnot. It's a pleasure to be casting for you guys this match for the SCA tournament. And we are watching Happy Feet versus the Prime NND, seeing who can take this second match. See, if the Happy Feet manage to win the second match, they get a 2-0 against the Prime NND, and then they win this whole best of 3 and pass on to the next round in the winners qualifier, or the winners brackets. Sorry. Whereas the Prime NND still have a chance to come back if they win the second match, and if they win the second match, they're able to go to then a third match, which allows them to go and pass to the winners bracket, or continue in the winners bracket. Otherwise, the Prime NND are sure to go down to the losers brackets, where they will lose against someone and quickly be eliminated. No, kidding. But who can have a hard time in the lower brackets, obviously. So, before now we present the teams, let's present the players specifically. We have Happy Feet on the Radiant side as the good guys. Jesse Vash will be playing the Crystal Main in the support position. The Shadow Fiend in the mid lane, played by Ben-Hur. As the carry, we have James Naismith and the Ember Spirit. As the second support is Jules playing the Night Stalker. And finally, in the offlane position, Yaj will be running a Timbersaw this game. Whereas, are they not cutting down these trees, really? Even with no Quelling Blades? Oh, okay. As for, actually, I want to see if R7 can steal this room. Give me a second. Yeah, they're harassing. Yeah, I don't have vision of him, though. They don't have vision of him, so the sentry does catch him out. They were playing like they were crazy. I see the idea. They were pretending like they were crazy, and then use the sentry eventually to try to get a kill. But it was a bit too. Late, essentially, and they couldn't. Arson just walked away. That's a really good ward, by the way. Really good ward right now, in the beginning of the game. Right, let's go and present the team for the Prime NND. Straight up from Jakarta, these guys come and present the Indonesians in this tournament together with RRQ. We have Shadow Shaman played by NFR in the support position. The mid lane, Ruzmani and the Temple Assassin. The Trim Protector in the bottom lane played by R7. In fact, he's actually dealing a lot of damage to his Crystal Maiden. She's going to go down. James Davis cannot protect her. And BF1 will be joining us with a Sanking in the offlane position. Like I said, R7 on the Trim Protector. And then finally, as the carry, Panda will be running the Bristleback. I wonder if it's that caster. What's her name? Panda casts? If Asha casts. I think she's like really high level, so. I don't know if she's from the SCA region, but I wonder, because there's so many pandas, and I keep saying that. I saw her in the chat, so I thought maybe it's just her. It'd be an honor. I love her casting, actually. Why am I going on a weird tangent? It's just that I thought she was a pro player, or at least a high level. player. That's why I never had the courage of asking her to cast with me, because it's like, oh, how could a noob compete with you? Anyway. The lanes are not going too well right now for Happy Feet, because they lose 2 kills early on, but we already saw what happened. The bottom kill, well, against a Crystal Main, not that big a deal. And then later on, this lane is just being very aggressive. Oh, Yash, good. No! Great Shackle, stopping the Timber Chain. And where's your reactive armor, buddy? There, finally skilled it up. It was a good idea. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, they get a kill onto the Trim Protector. You can't do this, where you go on 2 lanes at the same time. I don't know which one's gonna die. Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, you see, or the mid lane, you see what I was talking about. Ben-Hur knows what he's doing against Rusman. He harasses the Templar a bit with the raises once the refraction's off, and then continues farming, right? Maybe you should go for a bottle, or no bottle yet. No bottle yet. I like the bottle. Boots is really useful on its Shadow Fiend because of your extra movement speed, and being able to go around the Templar and evading those sideboys is very important, because that's mainly her source of harassment, because her range is too low to actually attack you. So being able to get boots early on a Shadow Fiend is pretty important against a Templar matchup. However, the bottle is also very useful to be able to spam those raises a bit more. Arcane Aura is still really low level, and the shrines have been nerfed, so bottle has gotten a considerable buff in the mid lane. I wonder what they would use. Oh well. We'll see. We'll see how the Shadow Fiend deals with her. For now, 9 lances to 12. Considering the matchup is not particularly favorable to a Shadow Fiend, it's not bad. He's not playing it too aggressively either, so he hasn't died or anything. There's been no ganking from the supports either, helping him out. I think he's quite happy with how his lane is going. 11 assets to his name is a decent amount, and even forcing the TA to kind of go into the Ancients, try to get his own stacks and whatnot. It's pretty good. I mean, now the TA is very convenient for her to just go get her own stacks. It's a good idea just to start getting those Ancient stacks up. Oh, root onto the Ben-Hur, the second hit, and Rootmine will just get the kill with auto attacking. What a classic! Just doing it old school Dota. Why use spells when you can just auto attack? Meanwhile, on the top lane, let's talk about this matchup a bit, because we haven't really been able to do so. Yaz versus, it's Timbersaw versus Bristleback. Usually, the Bristleback plays aggressively, and he did. That's a really nice build, by the way. The Bristleback is not as great against Timbersaw, because the Whirling Death will still take away 15% of your stats, and though you don't rely too much on your HP, your base strength is quite nice, and your strength gain is not too high. So, the 15% of your HP... or the 50% of your strength gone is really nice in the early game, a bit weaker later on. So Bristleback is not that powerful in lane, and with a Shadow Shaman, you want to take advantage of his high physical attack damage. Viscous Nasal Goo is the best way to do so, and on a Timbersaw, it's a really good idea, because we'll talk about that. Oh, wait, BF1 wants to... No, okay, doesn't want to initiate. Let's continue with the analysis. The idea is that the Timbersaw here, he relies very much on reactive armor stacks in the early game to survive, right? But the reactive armor stacks, first of all, they have a limit in the early game, and second of all, he actually relies on moving to be able to get those Timber Chains off, because level 1, the range is decent, but not that great, and you can stop him easily with a stun because of the Shadow Shaman. So, what you want to do is be able to have some movement speed, so that you can actually, you know, Timber Chain to the longer, or use longer Timber Chains. So, for example, if you're here, you don't want a Timber Chain to this tree. If possible, you rather Timber Chain right over there if they're following you right here, right? But the idea is you have to walk, say, to this X position, X, right? And you can't do that because your Viscous Nasal Goo, the Viscous Nasal Goo is preventing that from happening. So it's kind of same hybrid, kind of aggressive build in the beginning for Timbersaw, for Bristleback works. Now, in the mid lane, they're going to go on to Ben-Hur. That's what I was looking for. Rusman doesn't have refraction, but they still want to follow this. Living Armor is available. Now the TP comes out and forces R7 to retire. In fact, Jules wants to go on R7. They have the Void. They force him into the trees, but they don't care. The raises will cut this tree down, much as the name of the skill indicates, and force a Trim Protector into the backlines, whereas into the sidelines, where the Shrine will come up and heal everyone back up. That's a 5-minute Shrine, so very efficient. And there's the Void going to his mind with even the Sentry, make sure the meld doesn't come out. There was no meld available regardless. This TA had no chance of surviving against this new Night Stalker. Oh, I love the buff they give him. It's actually so powerful, and they've already getting a lot of kills, starting to get those. The caster's a bit biased. No, I actually don't care. I just go no when I see a bad player, when I see someone die or something like that. It has nothing to do with me being biased. I actually don't care who wins. Sorry, I should have specified that. I like both lineups. Usually when I watch a match, I will... Oh, actually, completely forgot about this, that I'm in ticket. I'm not ticketed. There it is. Usually I'm not biased in the sense that I only care about the lineups. Oh, wow, Panda dies in the top lane. I keep trying to find these kills, but they... I keep trying to find these kills, but obviously it's kind of hard because they keep killing each other all over the map. The SEA is such an aggressive region. I'll miss some in the early. I really can't. I don't have enough cameras to cover all of them. Right, like I was saying, I don't really care. I just like the better lineup, and well, whenever the mistake happens, I want to. I really react a bit aggressively to it. That said, I continue with the analysis. Obviously, from now, I'm actually looking at it from the point of a Happy Feet because I think their lineup is a bit more interesting. The lineup for the Prime NND becomes more interesting in the mid game. Great Frostbite plus Searing Chains, BF1. Careful, he has to use an Epicenter or something if he wants to counterattack this because he has no Burrow Strike yet. He's not able to make it out alive thanks to a good pickup of Infused Rain. That's very smart on him. What is the Bristleback going for in the early game? Oh wow, Yaj is actually being harassed considerably by Cold Spray. One more hit, it's all he needs. Yasuo tried to kill the Bristleback and does get the kill before he dies. Now the Burrow Strike coming out from BF1, going to Night Stalker, but Night Stalker has a silence, is ready to fight out this Sand King. The Caustic Finale, only one hit, but he misses it. That's so unfortunate. Jules can continue to dive this because he still has the help from 100 Knight. However, in comes the first stun, the Epicenter is committed, there's no Hex. The Burrow Strike was available, and the poor Night Stalker will have the world turned onto his head, and he's going to be destroyed by two supports who decide to defy the status quo. So good job there by the Prime NND, really turning that team fight around. That was actually quite fantastic. And now they're trying to get a kill in the mid lane against Ben-Hur. They don't have enough damage, I don't think. Ben-Hur is actually quite powerful, and he almost destroys R7 by accident. The Frostbite's available. They Frostbite this big, great oak, and with that, the poor thing will just go down. Who could that possibly be? 1 second, guys. Just checking. You know when they say the whole door thing? Yeah, apologies. Yaj just go down in the top lane. At least we caught that kill by the camera. I couldn't cast it because, again, door. But anyway, the net worth for Happy Feet is starting to increase considerably as opposed to what the Prime ND has. It's not particularly the last hits. It's more of these kills that they're getting in the mid game, which is not surprising. I mean, now we're looking to the mid game though. Let's see what items we saw. Panda in this situation is going. The Bristleback is playing the Vanguard Bristleback, so that's pretty cool. Honestly, as in this situation, the Vanguard Bristleback will be very effective to stop much of the Shadow Fiend's damage, the Ember Spirit, the Night Stalker as well. You have a lot of low source or low no, you have a lot of sources of physical damage in this enemy team. The Night Stalker, the Ember Spirit, the Shadow Fiend, but some of them don't really like going for items, like the Ember Spirit or the Night Stalker, meaning their base damage isn't increased by that much, meaning the Vanguard punishes them further. Because what Vanguard does is it punishes essentially getting one attribute, which in this case is getting attack speed. And that one attribute is really screws you over because well, that's defining the attribute, because think about it this way. When you are a hero like Night Stalker, right? In a Hunter of the Night, you rely on your attack speed to get a bit of extra boost of damage, and you get just enough damage to kill people, right? The issue with what Vanguard does here is it makes it so that your all the attack speed you invested is actually null, because your attacks will not deal that much damage regardless, and you should have invested in, you know, base attack damage or whatever more. As a result, the Vanguard makes it so that you last a bit longer in ganks, and in the early game you're much less likely to die, because again, anyone who relies on attack speed is destroyed. So heroes like Night Stalker, for example, really get crushed by an item like Vanguard in the early game, mind you. Yaj is still trying to fight this against 2, by the way, but he has 4 stacks of Visco Nasal Goo. I don't know if this is a good idea. In fact, NFR is almost dead, but Yaj, one more cool space, all they need, and they'll catch him out. Panda really taking advantage of this Timbersaw versus Bristleback lane. And in the bottom lane, they're going to James Naismith. He's so slow, his Remnant is going at the speed of Crystal Maiden, but he might still die to the Caustic Finale. He did what he could there, including using the Remnant, you know, the little Remnant trick plus the Searing Chains. That was really good. He could have almost made it out, but of course that Caustic Finale, so OP, so strong with a little buff they gave him in the last 2 patches or so, making the Sand King viable again. So, with that, Happy Feet sadly will lose their Ember Spirit, and no, that's not 2 patches ago. Actually, it was 8 patches ago. Jesus Christ. Patches are going flying by like months. Like my career. The Dragon Lance being picked up now by Shadow Fiend is the first item. That's not a bad idea for him. TA, I'm assuming, is going for Desolator. Yeah, Desolator is usually the first item for TA because of the farming speed it gives you. And now with the Ancient Stacks, it's even more relevant because it's easier to make Ancient Stacks, and it's much more valuable to clear them quickly because, again, it's easier to make Ancient Stacks. You can make more Ancient Stacks, thus, well, you want Desolator to clear them quickly. However, we do see that the poor Shadow Fiend decided to go for Dragon Lance as opposed to, say, her, or a Shadow Blade. So he's not trying to go for the early game, he's trying to go for the full-on carry build, which is interesting. Whereas the Timbersaw has decided to be more of the frontliner in the team at the beginning. However, I don't know how much this will work, because the 4 Protect 1 strategy would usually be okay if the early game got a bit better for the guys at Happy Feet. However, it hasn't really, so Shadow Fiend either participates in the team fights and helps out with breaking my souls, which means we need an early BKB for the Shadow Fiend. Or alternatively, you do what he's doing now, which is still hoping that his team will be able to win these early engagements with a Veil of Discord onto him. However, I don't see a viable way where they'll kill Panda, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm surprised Panda's still going for the Solo Crest, an item that got considerably nerfed and is not that powerful anymore this patch, but at the same time, Panda, of course, wants to get that extra boost in damage Solo Crest provides, and minus 10 armor, minus 14 armor to a Bristleback because Viscous Nasal Goo is not that big a deal either way. Oh, in the bottom lane, the Epicenter comes on James Noise, but they even hex him, turn him into a chicken, sorry, and they also deal so much magical damage, but he survives somehow, thanks to the help of Yash. They actually cut down the tree. The Caustic Finale, though, finishes off the Ember Spirit, and one last Whirling Death will even out the score. It's a 2-4-1, but one of them was in mid laner, so it's actually a pretty even trade for both teams, and now in the top lane, Jules is trying to make it so that the trade is a bit more favorable for them. They want to kill the Bristleback in time, and they will do so. The raises come from behind, and that one point in Bristleback was not available because he decided to go for the talent tree instead. As a result, they can get the kill onto his Bristleback and punish his aggression even further. That was really good for the guys at Happy Feet, getting 2 kills in the map. Something that I see that pro teams, or especially pro SEA teams, or the better SEA teams do a lot, and we'll talk about it in a second because Jules wants to help out. I think he must have gone BF1. I mean, why not try this tower yet? Silenced, and third raise all they need. No, Requiem Soul's even going to be pulled out. BF1 somehow still alive thanks to the burst. Like, the Earnest Shadows is annoying, but it's not that annoying. In fact, he's going to be perfectly fine. And now comes the help from the Ember Spirit. Say, they want to take this tower. That's the whole point. Okay. We're not just killing the Sand King, it's taking this tower now. They think he TP'd away. They scanned this part, and they didn't see anyone, so they know where he is now. Oh. Has he shown himself? I don't think so. The Sand King has no TP. I don't know if they checked his inventory before he died. In the middle lane, another team fight is happening. It's support for now, but now they have to clear the snakes to make sure that they don't lose this tower. As the tier 1 on the top lane has already fallen down, Yaj will be happy to tank the snake damage to get a bit more last hits onto them. And that's really going to help out his farm, actually. That's a lot of farm. Now, you consider all the snakes being farmed. That's, what, 10 snakes, all at 26 more or less. That's 260 extra gold just from killing all the snakes. That's a huge increase. So, congratulations, Timbersaw. Really recovered there. Able to get his Bloodstone at a decent timing. In fact, he's going to get it at minute 15 or so. His gold per minute is okay. Maybe not minute 15, minute 16. He's really close to it. Oh, Epicenter catches up the Shadow Fiend, but they want to stop the Epicenter from happening. The Searing Chains does stop it. It was weird because the sound was still going on, but the Epicenter was not happening. The Searing Chains cancel the channeling and stops the Epicenter from attacking Ben-Hur and dealing damage to him, allowing him to use a shrine much more safely, and more importantly, keep on farming, which is what Ben-Hur is looking for this whole game. Now, this Timbersaw on the bottom lane, he's trying to farm up that Solo Crest, but it seems like he's a bit confused about it. He wants to go for Hooded Defiance for ultimate tankiness. I don't know this ultimate tankiness. Oh shit! What did I just see? Night Stalker flew from one side of the map to the other, gaining extra vision. This is going to be so useful once you get Ags. Oh my god, Jules. This Night Stalker is so OP now. Well, not OP. OP is an exaggerated term. It's a very strong pick right now. Night Stalker should be, considering how many buffs he got into this style of play, it should be a first pick, first ban. I am surprised they banned Twin Protector over Night Stalker. Seriously. At least no more Monkey King bans. That's good. They've acknowledged that's not that great. Okay, BF1. The blink there. Oh, Night Stalker starts hitting him. The Sandstorm doesn't give you that much delay, so Night Stalker has an easier time hunting you down. Meanwhile, in the backlines, we see that Arsan is trying to backdoor the Shadow Fiend. Or, I mean, does he come with an Overgrowth? That's the important part. No Overgrowth, or hasn't skilled it yet, at least, for whatever reason. Oh, Jesse Vash almost died to just 2 hits. That's Medallion really hurting him, but he survives in the end. Careful, because Temple might just kill him with just her Cyblades. In fact, they're going to catch out the poor Tim Protector, cut him down with a Chakram. That's an easy kill. Jesse Vash, though, does go down, wrecking my souls. Catches out Panda, enough to deal, well, enough to lower his movement speed and force him out of this lane. And there it is. The Timbersaw says, "Hello, Panda. Why don't we have a bit of a tango?" In this case, tango ends with your death, though. But Yaj seems a bit, yeah, okay. seemed a bit weird about this initiation, now finally committing to it. The burst strike comes out, hits 2, and this might be the counter initiation with X first. Now the shackles. Yash still committing to this Panda kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, it seems like Guzman is following in under Shadow Fiend's footsteps, and they all want to go onto Yash. They get the overgrowth out. The damage from TA is considerable. He's forced to deny himself with his Bloodstone, losing the first 4 charges in an attempt to kill the Bristleback. Did not work out well for Happy Feet there. I mean, losing the Crystal Maiden, not a big deal, but losing the Bristleback, ooh, that was horrendous for them. Sorry, losing the Timbersaw, that was horrendous for them. Mainly because he just bought the Bloodstone. Had he not bought the Bloodstone, had he disassembled, or not had it assembled for that, that's fine. But he literally just assembled it for that team fight, losing 4 charges right off the bat for no reason. And that deny is really not that worth it. You'd rather let the Timbersaw die, conserve your charges, and that's it, than using that deny. So, thanks for the nice comments, Jerry Kovila. I appreciate that, man. Sad that you can't stay, but good that you watched for the first 10 kills. Right. They're going to take this bottom tower down easily. I mean, the Prime NND has a really good damage here. With the Desolator and the Blink Dagger TA, it's actually really hard to bring her down regardless. And, oh, Bristleback, is that the objective? No, Epicenter comes in from the Sand King, doesn't catch out anyone. That was a failed Epicenter by the Sand King. And now is the time to fight. R7 will find out James A. Smith. But what are you doing, R7? He's been frostbitten. He's trying to walk away. But where are you walking away to if there's no home around here? There might be a lot of trees, but those trees are only gonna circle you in your death. With that, Yaj in the top lane manages to get a lot of space, and I mean, he doesn't recover those Bloodstone charges, which is a bit more important, I think, right now. But he's trying to go for that Yule Scepter to prevent some of the... I can only imagine for the Nasal Goose stacks, maybe for the Ether Shock or the Burrow Strike, to prevent some of the melt damage or the Hurricane Pike if the TA does decide to go for Hurricane Pike afterwards. After all, it does seem... It's just 36 gold? Really? It's still 26 for me, my friend. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Are you sure? It showed 26 for me, literally in the screen. 26, not 36. Either that or I saw it badly. But I'm pretty sure it's 26 gold, man. That's what I was basing my thing off. It was just all like I randomly said 26 gold. But that's an interesting fact. If it isn't 26 gold, it is in fact 36. Actually, now I'm interested. Serpent Ward Bounty. Because it is... I don't know if it's variable, if it's treated like creeps. It's a weird... Oh, Serpent Ward Bounty. Duty 2. Yeah, 26 to 38. I was right. 26 to 38. Okay, I was not wrong. So the separate wards to give a variable bounty. Okay, whew. For a second I thought I was retarded. Turns out I'm not. The being able to take the serpent wards gives you from 26 to 38. So on average gives you what 32 on average, which is 320 per serpent wards. But on average, because we have to assume that's going to be around that age. I assumed it was 26 because it was the lowest value, but that was just an unfortunate hit by that Timbersaw. So yeah, it's a variable value. That's good. That's good. Happy Feet getting that from the Serpent Wards actually gives him a lot of pushing, or sorry, not pushing power, extra farming power. That's why you don't go for the extra Serpent Wards, honestly, though they might be good to get the extra wards summoned. Actually, extra ward summon or Shackles duration, both are not that great on your Shadow Shaman. It's surprising. The buffs he's gotten is generally in how the game is played, but the Shadow Shaman himself doesn't seem like he's gotten that many buffs. In fact, those extra Serpent Wards don't seem to help him too much. It just gives extra farm to the enemy team at this point. Oh, do they have a Burrow Strike to stop this? The issue here with the Serpent Wards is that as time goes on, anyone with a minimal attack speed can just destroy them because it's only 2 hits. Doesn't matter how much attack they have. So you can even have supports destroy them. And that's just giving farm to the enemy team. They're useful if you can protect them well, but most nowadays with the Solar Crest pickups, with how evasion is taken in the meta, how much supports go for utility items like Force Staff and Solar Crest, it's much more dangerous to catch out someone in the middle, or it's much safer to attack the Serpent Wards because there's not that many stuns to really stop you when that happens. Okay, Hunter in the Night is ready, so they can actually die this. It's only stopped the Bristleback though. Is the goal to go on the Bristleback here? I don't think so. Panda seems okay. Yeah, they can do Willing Death as much as they want, and they will deal a lot of damage to the Bristleback for that. But besides that, you really don't want to put on too much pressure because the enemy team could come in with a smoke gang, for example, like this happened. Epicenter, it'll catch out just the Crystal Maiden. No, it's the Shadow Fiend, the objective. There's the melt. Ben-Hur, Hexed up, now rooted, and he's gonna go down. Jesse Vash is the next target of aggression. Easy kill into the Crystal Maiden. That's a 2 for none. Oh, Jesse Vash actually surviving for a bit longer for no reason. Yash wants to join the fray. Might be the wrong idea. Thank God you left. Nope. Rosmai is not letting him leave. He keeps attacking him with Desolator. He's forced to be rooted though, thanks to James Naismith's great Searing Chains. And with that, it gives Yash enough HP to survive there. I mean, I think he would have survived regardless, but hey, it's not a bad help from the Searing Chains of the Ember. That said, the Prime and ND are doing pretty well in this mid game. I mean, they are taking advantage of this time, which is their time in the game. It's Caustic Finale instead of Caustic Finale. Both pronunciation, man. It's just American. Oh, your name is literally Retard Caster. It's just both pronunciations. Finale is another way of saying finale. It's just doesn't really matter. It's really the same thing. It just depends on your accent. My accent suits more finale. Your accent might suit more finale. I'm sorry, man. I speak with slang. What can I say? Movement speed extra, movement speed on the Shadow Shaman, 25 extra movement speed. Okay, that's the choice you make. Why is that happening? That's it. Yeah, so the guys from the Prime and ND will be not leading the game, but taking these team fights a bit better in the mid game because, like I said, the lineup is more of a mid game lineup. They have the help from Turn Protector here with the Overgrowth, and of course the Templar Assassin. Sorry, the Turn Protector's Overgrowth and the Epicenter are very strong skills in the early game for team fights. What are you doing, Jesse Bash? I mean, probably warding or giving some vision. I'm not entirely sure, but whatever. You're dead. They have a lot of good team fight spells. The guys from the Prime and ND. They have Overgrowth and of course the Epicenter and the Quill Spread later on, which is pretty powerful in the mid game for team fights. The enemy team does not have particularly too much team fight. Like I said, only the Timbersaw, and the Timbersaw's been dying. Well, not dying, but they've been putting a lot of pressure on him consistently, enough so that he can't actually put the damage or send out his damage output in the team fights. And you don't really have team fight in the sense of having a slow in an area or a root in an area or anything of the sort. I'm more interested in this tower than killing the Shadow Shaman. That's an extra Bloodstone charge for the train. Oh, this is important. They root him out. James Naismith, the second root. Now the Burrow Strike. They have no way of escaping. Those two roots are very powerful. Even though it's a nerf to the Nature's Guys, obviously because of the bash, it's still good to get a root out, and it still screws over the Ember Spirit. He needs a BKB to really deal with this, and that's probably not going to come out this game. He's going for Lincoln's first off. Okay. The push continues by the Prime NND. And they'll be taking down this tier 3 to the power of Happy Feet. No, Happy Feet's defense is too good. Happy Feet's defense is too good. The Freezing Field is actually zoning out the TA completely. That's going to be an Aegis done. That's going to be an Aegis completely done. And BF1 happens to catch the Shadow Fiend, and the Timbersaw won't kill anyone yet. In fact, BF1 will just sacrifice himself. That's a Burrow Strike and an Epicenter wasted. No more Burrow Strikes for you. Now it's time for the counter attack. Yash is losing a lot of damage here, though. And Rusman will have to blink himself away. But Bristleback is lasting all this damage now. Yash is still surviving somehow with 12 Bloodstone charges. He's going to be able to have the HP regen to take down the Quill Sprays, or sorry, take in the Quill Sprays and still keep on fighting against the Bristleback. With that, Happy Feet will get another team fight to their favor. A lot of Bloodstone charges coming on this Timbersaw. He's back to 13. They're back to the game. Honestly, this revived the Timbersaw completely. The Night Stalker himself is now going for Axe, going to give him a huge boost in the mid game. The Shadow Fiend himself is also going for some useful items. The Dragon Lance and the Mantasal are very good to get that, you know, that late game Shadow Fiend kind of set up. And you can go for things like he's got the Hurricane Pike. You need to go for something like a BKB. You need a BKB of some sort. You know, either a BKB or go for a very defensive item like a Scotty. But really, BKB seems like the right choice to go for. Even though both the Bristleback and the Temple Assassin don't annoy or don't care about the BKB, and the Trim Protector doesn't either, getting rid of the Shackles and the goddamn Hex in addition to the Burrow Strike is necessary in this game. So you can just hit freely. And oh no, that is a dead Night Stalker. And I think it's gonna be what, the Timbersaw joining him in the death? No, he might survive this. It's a Yule Scepter. He's gonna try to Timbersaw himself or Timber Chain himself away. Chakram to deal a bit of damage. The Solar Crest is sinking him in, and he decides to use a deny in the end. Goes back to the 4 Bloodstone charges, or 8 Bloodstone charges. What a pity. And James Naismith has an Arcane Aura just to walk himself away, able to use the Rhinots a bit more efficiently. That's actually quite good. We haven't really talked about this, but the Ember Spirit has been playing really aggressively, as you've seen this game, and it's benefited him because of the Arcane Aura, allowing him to use his Rhinots a bit more successively. You don't usually have issues with ramming the charges, but you do have issues with the mana, especially because you Flame Guard and you Slide of Face and Searing Chains the lane if you want to push it fast, and the Arcane Aura allows you to do that. So that's pretty good on the heavy feet side. We see that's why there's so much split pushing going on by teams, and about why you went for such early trial boots. That's a really good idea. Usually Embers go for early trial boots, but in this case the Ember specifically went for it as a second item at the Rail of Discord, which is a bit rare nowadays. Maybe there's a lot of variations in the Ember builds, but it's not as common to see the travels every single time. So it's a good idea for Happy Feet. Jones himself really needs to get the Aghanims though, and then they need to start fighting at night. With the Hunter and the Night passive, which is and the active itself is so powerful. The Darkness, which received a no buff. Sorry, not Darkness buff. The Moonshot received a slight buff because the creep range. The creep vision reduction, so now it's much easier to gank at night, especially with the Hunter in the night and the Aghanim Scepter. It's just really powerful, honestly, and with the Darkness also reducing your vision even further. Only your vision though, and the ward's vision, not the creeps itself. So overall, the Night Stalker's got a huge buff this patch just by indirect buffs to him, and they need the Aghanims to really take advantage of this. The Shadow Fiend though is pretty well farmed, has nice experience, going to level 20, matching the TA in farm most always, and is now deciding to go for the Butterfly, which is the only item of evasion that did get too nerfed, and there's no Solo Crest in the enemy team, which is good, because the lack of Solo Crest makes it so that they want to go for that kind of Butterfly. And you're punishing the fact that the Train Protector decided to go for a mechanism. It's such an obvious mechanism, and it's not a great one anyway, so because it's coming late. And the Shadow Shaman decided to not go for Solo Crest either because he needs other items, Blink Dagger, Force Staff, etc., etc., maybe even an Axe later on in the game. So, going for Butterfly is a pretty safe bet. The only Solo Crest that exists here is a Bristleback, and frankly, either he uses it on you or that's done. Well, careful. Shadow Fiend dead. Hex. Ooh, he's gonna survive a bit longer. Hurricane Pike tries to use the Requiem of Souls. Will reduce some damage, and that's actually a dead Shadow Shaman before he goes down. That was a pretty important double Requiem of Souls, but sadly doesn't get more than one kill, and he does die regardless. The Ghost Hunter used by this Templar Assault to prevent some of the Templar Assassin damage, but the Ember Spirit's already dead. Templar Assassin decided to go onto Yash, slowing down considerably. The Ghost Hunter's forced out by Yash, but they still have enough damage to kill him off. The Templar from Rosemont is just destroying this enemy team from Happy Feet. Good job, Rosemont. Good job. That's a lot of burst damage. While the Solo Crest, by the way, on Bristleback is not as important as on a support. Bristleback has an objective and he wants to kill the objective primordially. So if he decides to go on Ember first, he's going to use Solo Crest on Ember immediately. Whereas the Prime NND might save the Solo Crest for a Butterfly potential if you are a support. The Bristleback, since he's a carry, and that's one of the items that gives him damage, they cannot really rely too much on that. Unless he has a lot of Viscous Nasal Goo stacks on the target in question. The tower damage starts coming out by Rosemont. I think is looking bad for the Prime NND. Actually looking really bad. Because, sorry, not for the Prime, from Happy Feet. Because the tower's starting to go down. It's still within the enemy team's, mid game where they're strong. And the Shadow Fiend does not have too much of an impact. The Timber Saw as well has been denied his impact in the early game. And more importantly, the Ember has not been able to do anything. Now they're trying to kill the Bristleback, but they don't have enough damage, honestly. The Epicenter comes out, doesn't hit anyone really. In fact, DFO just sacrificed himself. That's the second Epicenter that fails this game. That was a bit weird. And now they're trying to kill the Timber Saw, but is this really the right, or the Bristleback, is that really the right choice? In fact, the Ember Spirit is going to die in the backlines. He's been turned into a caged chicken. Now the Shackles, finishing him off. They want to go into Twin Protector, silencing him and killing him. That's pretty good, but Rosemont is still in the backlines, dealing damage. And the Bristleback has not been brought down. And you lost an Ember for absolutely nothing, my friend. NFR comes in, beautiful Snakes plus Hex. They have to kill him in time, but that Shackles is lasting way too long. NFR survives. The Requiem of Souls comes in, but it's not enough souls to kill anyone in the Prime NND, and they'll be forcing buybacks even from the Timber Saw. Now killing Jesse Vash a second time, wanting to go on Yash. Yash needs to kill Rosemont, but in the end, the Prime NND come in with a counter attack with these snakes and get a really valuable kill onto the Shadow Fiend, and now again onto the Ember Spirit. Forcing a buyback from the Timber Saw is fantastic. Panda can still fight this, honestly. They're starting to go with Solar Crest, forcing the Ghost Scepter. They can still put Viscous Nasal Goo stacks onto him. The Shrine is driving a good amount of damage on the enemy team. And right now, Bristleback, careful, because he's been hit by the Chakram. He's slowed considerably. They want to go onto him, and they have a 3-man gang squad. 4-man Crystal Mania is really slow right now. Poor Grandma can't actually reach Bristleback's speed, but the Searing Chains will stop him. Oh no, the Remnants missed, and they can't use the bomb in time. The Burst Strike comes in, screws over Happy Feet completely, but the Freezing Field from Jesse Fash is mowing them to bits. Rosemont has to use his BKB just to survive this. Yash from behind, trying to go on to Banda. Will he kill him in time? He won't. Panda will just be sassy, turn his back away, and receive less damage. And with this, the Prime NND will not lose this engagement, but certainly lose much more than they were hoping for. However, Happy Feet have lost a dieback Timber. That is horrendous for them. They lose the Shadow Fiend. They forced multiple buybacks, lose multiple supports, and again, a 3-man gank that was completely wasted in the end after a really, really long and tedious team fight by both the Prime NND and Happy Feet. This is not looking good for the Happy Feet at all. The net worth difference is not going in favor of the Indonesians, and more importantly, these guys have the advantage right now. It's still not late game. It's still not at 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in, where the Prime NND can really do something against Happy Feet. You see that trick? I coughed and I talked at the same time. That's pretty impressive. Where the Happy Feet can do something against the Prime NND because they have the Shadow Fiend. So, since it's not that point in the game yet, the Bristleback is still at his peak. He still farmed really well. You managed to deny the Ember Spear as a carry as a whole, so you're only relying on the 4 protect one of the Shadow Fiend. And finally, right now with the TA, the Shadow Fiend just can't do anything, like I said, because not only is it the time difference, but only is the TA, the fact that he can burst down someone so easily, and the Shadow Fiend still has not acquired the agility or the items enough to survive this attack from the TA. Now, do they have a burst cycle? Will they see this? They do, but that's a bit too late. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Happy Feet here obviously lose that TA. It's unfortunate that Happy Feet obviously don't. That Prime NND doesn't get that kill for them, which is important because obviously killing the Ember Spread at this point is just more of a fodder kill, where they want to get the extra Bloodstone charge. No, they don't have any Bloodstone. What am I saying? They want to get the extra gold reduction onto him because they want to kill him further. Now remember that his net worth will mean less, will mean more though, meaning that he actually loses less gold per kill. That's harder to really completely deny someone from their gold, but it's easier to collect gold from them, right? Because of their net worth. Anyway, they're probably NND going with a smoke gank in the bottom lane. There is more of the. I think that here's the idea that the Caustic Finale will continue to push, and you will use the rest of your creeps to just kind of destroy what Happy Feet has if they come in on you. No, never mind. They just have the snakes and they're just going to pull them down. This is the worst positioning for the snakes, by the way. Now that they have extra attack range, you want to put them here so the enemy team can attack them, but that's beyond the point. In they go. The Frostbite is dispelled by the BKB. That's a good epicenter. Exactly what they were looking for. Yes, Vash still doesn't die, though, but the Shackles catches the Timbersaw. They've already destroyed the Shadow Fiend, and the Timbersaw is as good as dead, forcing himself into the Eulul Scepter. Actually, might even survive. One last hit from Rusmine will not come out, and he was close to dying, but still has an Aegis, the living armor keeping him alive. Now the second burst, like the freezing field, is cancelled completely, and James Naismith goes back to the land of the dead. Panda fighting a Shadow Fiend. That's a dieback from Shadow Fiend. 100 seconds without him. It's a disaster, as NFR marks in the chat. That's the rats going down easily for the Prime NND, and all they need to do is take another lane, which is really prime and ripe for the take in the top lane. That's all. That's GG for Happy Feet, because they can't defend this. There's no way they can defend the Mega Creeps from happening if they manage to take these 2 lanes easily. And the Shadow Fiend actually has a really long respawn timer. Right now, Bristleback trying to kill the Crystal Maiden is going to manage to do so. Jesse Vash goes down thanks to the solo crest. He's been silenced though. His attributes have been taken away. He has no way of recovering. The TA joins in. No, it's the Shadow Shaman. This bossy motherfucker takes down the Timbersaw with his shackles, just goes straight into his face and says, I'm not scared of your chakram. I have the stun ready to murder you. And my team has much more damage. Now, why do you need the middle lane? You don't actually need it. The tier 3 is, the tier 2 is still available, so you can't really take the Mega Creeps. Fuck it. That doesn't matter. You go for the tier 4 instead. 45 seconds still cooldown. I'm 2 cores of the enemy team, and Jules wants to defend this. The TA coming in with the Desolator and dealing a lot of damage to his towers. James Naismith almost disintegrates himself. Wow, that could have been really lethal if he didn't have the solo crest on, or the silence from the Night Stalker. Okay, so they take a tier 4. Are they going to retreat? Seriously? Is it time to retreat? Nuzma doesn't seem to want to. I mean, Jesus, there's 2:23 seconds till they come back, boys. You know they're diebacks. You know you can fight this. What are they going for? The Roshan is not available. You still have the cheese and the Aegis. What the hell are you afraid of? It's a Night Stalker. He has 350 damage. That's all he does. He'll void you, and then he'll look at you in the eyes and say, please don't kill me. Like a dying sheep. That's horrendous. You can't do anything. Prime NND, please just go into the finish of the game. You have the complete control right now. Ruzbad is just going to keep this lane pushed in the middle lane. It seems like they want to go for Mega Creeps. The safe way is the right way, according to them. Ruzman is actually doing a lot of damage. Desolator taking it down. Wow, that's even despite the backdoor protection. That's actually ridiculous. I just realized. Wow, that's with the backdoor protection on. Holy Lord. Okay, Happy Feet will be losing. We'll be losing that tower. But no more. I mean, this game is not looking good for them at all right now. 27 kills, 30. That seems even, but really, with the current farm of the Shadow Fiend as opposed to the TA, that's a 10,000 net worth difference between the both of them. The Bristleback is equally as farm as the Shadow Fiend, but he fulfills a completely different role, so it's even better because you have a tank per se, a utility tank, and then a damage dealer in this situation being the Templar Assassin. You know. Bye-bye, Night Stalker. Bye-bye, Gem. That's goodbye to the Aghanim Vision. That so many things lost just with one hero kill. And wow, sad trombone, crybaby. Indonesians, Jesus. Why are you so toxic? That was really brutal. They get a kill on the Night Stalker in like 2 seconds, and then immediately they start going and laughing at him in their own allies chat. No, I'm kidding. That's pretty funny. The Prime NND will be taking down a couple creeps and just deciding to walk. R7 in the bottom lane is just scouting out a bit, using his Shrimp Protector extra movement speed. He's going for the 4-staff. I'm liking these new changes we're seeing on the supports with the Solar Crest change. We're seeing much more utility items. The mechanism, not so fond of, honestly. It's done nothing this whole game, frankly. But the extra armor's not that bad, though, against the Shadow Fiend. I'll give you that. It actually cancels, to some degree, the presence of the Dark Lord aura, which is okay. It does give a bit of aura in the restore itself. I'm sorry, a bit of armor in the restore itself, a bit of HP aura. It's okay. But here, the 4th is what I like. Being able to see items when wielding the Shrimp Protector that are not just Blink Dagger and Solar Crest is nice to see some diversity again. Okay, Crystal Maiden hit 2 hits and she dies quite easily, honestly. And even the Timber Saw is gonna die. He's forced to go for a Ghost Scepter. That's not good. I mean, we've already seen this before, but it's been saying in this whole game. Oh no, the Hex of the Shadow Fiend. The Lincoln's got popped. It seems like he had Lincoln's on. No, that's weird effect from the companion. Guys from NP don't care. The Prime don't care. Oh, until they go with a Burst Strike Epicenter. They catch 3. Beautiful Burst Strike. Yash is the first objective. He has to Yosef himself to not die. Yash will go down because he's been hexed by, again, the Shadow Shaman. This killer of soul. Jesus Christ. How is he being in every single line, every single time they go in on the kill? The Shadow Shaman somehow blinks through them with his Blink 4-staff, ultimate mobility build, and hexes them, shackles them to the floor. There's nothing you can do when the Shadow Shaman is falling behind you. Now, the Night Stalker will die 2 times. That is a dieback, and that is no more vision in the night. A Hex to the Shadow Fiend. The GG is called by a Happy Feet. They say, please, we know you guys want to stay in the winner's brackets. Just let us win this last one because the second one goes completely in the Prime NND's favor. Take it, making this matchup a 1-1. And making the last match the most precious of them all, because whoever wins it will win this best of 3 and continue in the winner's bracket. Whoever loses this last match will go down to the loser's bracket and have to face possible elimination in their next matchup. That said, guys, Happy Feet lose against the Prime NND in the second game of the day. Prime NND take it very convincingly. We'll be back with game number 3 and the last game of the SEA region for today, just very shortly. So enjoy some tunes while we wait. My name's been DSwordfish. Hope you've enjoyed the cast. Please feel free to go for feel free to follow me on Twitter if you did enjoy the cast. One last comment I saw, yeah, okay, that was the right choice. We can't rush everything. Yeah, that's a good point. I see what you're saying. You couldn't have rushed it earlier. They won anyway, so good job, Prime NND. I think they had the complete domination, so they played it safe. I like the idea. I want to point out that out. They could have gone earlier and killed it earlier, I do believe, but the choice to wait shows maturity as a team, so that's good. That said, my name is DSwordfish. Hope you liked the cast. Follow me on Twitter if you enjoyed. Flame me on chat if you didn't, I guess. You can also go on Twitter to follow the replays. Well, when we're posting these really interesting games for the playoffs as well. I'll cast it by myself, and I'll be back shortly with some more Dota 2. So enjoy some tunes while we wait.